Hey everyone, in this video, he's turning a super old car made over half a century ago into the ultimate dream adventure vehicle. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. It really makes a difference. He's not just restoring it completely, he's also converting it into a four-wheel drive camping car where people can chill during trips, like a mobile home. This is Mateo, a guy who loves traveling and adventures. He has a YouTube channel called Toyota World where he shares epic camping trips and challenges, but he never actually owned a camper van. Then he had a crazy idea to transform an old car to make his dreams come true. He decided to buy a chassis. The Land Cruiser 80 series and before had a problem. The chassis is really old, about 30 years or so it had a lot of rust. But he put in the effort to remove the surface rust. The car is an original factory model, and the mileage on it is only 90,000 miles, which is pretty low for such an old car. However, despite that, he faced another problem. The engine was an R20, but he managed to get past this issue by pulling out the engine and clearing out the entire engine bay. Now it was time to take off the tires and chassis, which took even more effort, thinking, and measuring until he came up with a plan. What encouraged him the most about the idea was the wheelbase. It was almost identical, and the next day, he put the chassis of the 80 series he bought under the car. Now he had to make custom mounts for the car. The first step in metal fabrication was drawing the design on cardboard, doing it systematically, sketching the designs, and cutting them on the plasma table. After that, he welded the pieces together and spent more time adjusting them to fit the frame. This stage took him 4 days, during which he succeeded and overcame the challenge. This was a big win for him because he was really worried about this part. The engine for a car like this is a tough thing, especially with a limited budget. He calculated and realized that if he swapped in a diesel engine, he'd have to drive more than 100,000 kilometers and spend a lot on fuel. In the end, he decided to buy a Toyota 5VZ FE engine. This engine has its pros and cons, but the main reason he chose it is because it's known for reliability, decent power, and easy availability of spare parts and service anywhere. After trying to fit the engine into the engine bay several times, it took him a few days to get the engine mounts right. He was making custom fuel lines, just like most of the stuff he had been working on for this project. He started something, then realized he needed to order a specific part or go buy something from the shop. These setbacks went on for more than a week, but he kept going and even installed a copper radiator. 3 layers of paint in 6. With a few tweaks, the radiator was installed back in its original bolt spots. Now came the tricky part, the engine wiring. He was really nervous about this stage since he didn't swap the engine himself. Luckily, he had friends who knew their stuff, so some hooked up the wires that run with the ignition, others hooked up the constant power wire and the coil wire. Now it was testing time. Would it actually work after all that effort? It was a huge moment of joy when it did. There was still some welding and cleaning to do, but getting the engine running was a major and important step for his car. Toyota World Runner had a lot ahead yet. It was a long road with some things that needed adjustments, like the drive shaft, the differential, the mounts, and the internal gear that distributes speed. That's why he decided to make some ground-up modifications and also needed a special cross member to support the speed, so he went back to the drawing board. One of the problems that took him a lot of time to figure out was the fuel tank. He was surprised by a new issue whether the original Chinook fuel tank or the Land Cruiser one would fit. Because of that, he had to make a custom tank just for it. Unfortunately, he didn't have the budget to make it out of stainless steel, but one day a car workshop provided an extra gas tank from a 1992 Chevy Supervan, which became the solution to this problem. While looking for a fix for the tank, he was also completely renewing the front and rear axles with all brand new parts. Since his 80 series was an older 1996 model, it had bigger brakes and drums front and back, so he upgraded it further by installing a full power stop brake kit. Honestly, it was pricey, but it was worth the money. The quality was high and reliable, especially on the highway. All the bearings he used were brand new Japanese ones, and pretty much everything in the car was replaced. He was only using brake hoses, fuel hoses, and radiator hoses from one specific car, but he made sure to use genuine spare parts everywhere. He moved the original fuel filter to a new spot in the engine bay, and the new tank was going to be the one in use. He expected the fuel consumption to be around 15 miles per gallon, so the car needed a long range. That was the job of the giant fuel tank. Miraculously, it fit perfectly in its place, and he even managed
managed to use the original straps from a Chevrolet tank with a few custom brackets he made. At the same time, he was working on modifying the transmission tunnel and built a new battery mount. He made some small adjustments to the oil cooler bracket so it would work well with the car's original parts. Everything was going fine, but there was still a long way to go. After that, he moved the ashtray to the other side of the workshop so Jason could start on the armor. Jason was really talented. He built the car's roll bar out of steel in just one day, and it looked amazing. Honestly, that gave him a huge boost to keep going. He then worked on the transmission tunnel, insulated and covered the floor, and also made some really complicated mounts for the new seats, which were 3rd Gen 4Runner sports seats. But then another problem came up. The original steering column from a Land Cruiser was barely working. Because of the tight fit, they barely managed to get the old bearings out. The solution to overcome this challenge was to buy specific spare parts. He got welding connectors from Trail Gear and bought pipes to make the main steering linkage himself. Amid all this, a new side task came up: rebuilding and insulating the original bore at the back of the mobile workshop. So far, they hadn't touched the interior, and he was supposed to live inside the vehicle and leave the country within 2 weeks. The suspension was also a tricky issue because he had no solid reference to rely on, so he had to guess the weights that would be on each axle after loading. Time was running out fast, so he had to quickly figure out the weights and guess the best option. He decided to go with a 6-inch lift in the back and 2 inches in the front. It wasn't an easy choice, but he decided to take the risk, and luckily, the gamble paid off. The suspension lifted the car just the right amount, making it look balanced front and back once fully loaded. Raising the car meant he needed custom panhard bars for both front and rear, but his budget was really tight, and he didn't want to spend thousands on ready-made bars, so he decided to make them himself. He went down to the metal shop and worked on cutting solid steel pieces to trim the length of the front and rear panhard rods. He also had to extend and modify the rear sway bar mounting brackets himself. After that, he got help from a specialist to install the exhaust and even made a custom wiring harness for the LED headlights. Once he installed the new springs, he faced a new challenge. The car's wheels weren't properly aligned, so he needed to fix the wheel angle. He decided to install caster bushings from Dobinson's because they offer 3 different angle options with just one part. The only downside was that these bushings reduced the suspension's range of motion compared to regular bushings. The original caster correction plates were used, but time was tight, so quick decisions had to be made. He decided to install 60mm shocks because of their quality and reasonable price. Finally, he reinstalled the drive shaft after fixing it in the machine shop. After all the time and effort he put in, the big day for the first test drive came. The car wasn't fully finished yet, but this test was really important to see exactly how far he'd come and how the car would handle, and the test went well. Anyone who's ever built something from scratch knows how exciting that moment is. After that, he painted the car's iron bar, installed a new winch, added a 4x4 S10, and even upgraded the car's dynamo from 60 to 150 amp charger so it could charge the camper's battery. He set up a custom installation for the new navigation unit and fixed up the engine room so it looks good. The big challenge he was facing now was serious. He planned to live in this van for 18 months, but unfortunately, there was nothing inside. It was basically unlivable. During his trip, we can see how he managed to overcome this problem. Last summer, he decided to tackle some things inside the van, like replacing the old carpet and fixing the water and electrical systems which weren't working properly. He fixed everything, and now it's all running smoothly. He probably couldn't handle driving until he stayed overnight. Guinea had a lot of people around him helping, like his girlfriend Stacy, who was insulating the camper, and his mom, who was laying down the new flooring. Meanwhile, he was working on designing the water and electrical system. He decided to install a 100-amp lithium battery to run the new 60-liter fridge, the lights, and charge the camera batteries. The challenge they faced was that time was super tight and there was a lot to do, so they decided to speed things up. He designed a powerful 3-stage water pump system using a marine water pump, 3 filters, and a 60-liter tank he put under the vehicle. He pushed himself harder to finish the interior setups quickly and installed a diesel heater. He made some aesthetic tweaks to the outside of the car. He was super excited about the new color while working on it. Then a huge snowstorm hit, but that didn't stop him from working on the car and the upgrades he wanted to finish as fast as possible. Because Scoot finished the marble frame, Jason built him an oven he could open and close easily. That helped save space. Finally, he installed the marble frame and put in the new oven. After that, it was a real race against time to finish the last details before another snowstorm hit. He put on the new wheel and took the car out. After 1,500 miles, he reached Denver, Colorado to to install new gears and axles. The Chinook looked really solid, but it still needed a few more things to handle all of Latin America. His new buddy Ran helped him finish installing the new exhaust, new storage solutions, an electronic locking motor, brake booster, and a Benhard kit. After that, the Chinook was ready, but it was still missing just one thing. It needed new tires. The Falcon Tire came to the rescue with their new wheels, put them on the KMC, and now the ride was ready for anything. Sure enough, it hit the dirt roads and took off straight from Mexico through Central America all the way to the southern tip of South America. It was basically a miracle that he did all that without any major problems, except for some pumps. The Chinook is basically a modified version of the Toyota Land Cruiser we all know and love, but this one's built for adventures and long trips. Inside, they revamped the design to include living essentials like beds, a built-in kitchen, and stable water and electrical systems so people can live comfortably on the road. The truck looks tough with added features like front and rear bumpers, protective guards, and even a foldable roof to increase space. The Chinook is a great example of how you can customize a 4x4 into a proper adventure vehicle. So what do you think? Write down below what other challenges you want to see from Craft Wilder DIY. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really makes a difference.